AFC this year, starting in the East. Business as usual. Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, New England Patriots will finish 12-4. Will again win the division. Will again have a top seed in the AFC. See the New York Jets finishing at 7-9 with Sam Darnold. Going to be a learning year. Going to be a lot of ups. Going to be a lot of downs. I'm still of belief they never should have traded Teddy Bridgewater. Business-wise, I get why they did it. Me as a fan, I'm still kind of got my questions, but hey, you gotta go with what management does or what they think is best. And right now, we're going to go with what management has done and what management thinks is best at this point in time, which is to trade away Teddy Bridgewater and go with Sam Darnold here for this season. I see the Miami Dolphins finishing up in the East at 7-9, and the Buffalo Bills finishing up at 4-12. I do not see Buffalo having a very good season this season. Roster has a lot of work that it needs. Quarterback issues. Shady McCoy on the wrong side of 30. Just kind of a bit of a rebuild, if you will, in Buffalo here this season. Again, as I can see them finishing up this season with a record of 4-12 there in the AFC East. Moving on to the Western Division that the Kansas City Chiefs have won for the past 3 seasons. That comes to an end this year. I have the Los Angeles Chargers winning the AFC West this season with a record of 11-5. Phillip Rivers, Anthony Lynn and company are going to take over the division this year and get on back into the playoffs. For the first time in a few years out there in San Diego and also Los Angeles with the Chargers. So the Chargers will finish 11-5. I have the Chiefs finishing at 8-8. They could be anywhere from 9-7 to 7-9. Their offense will keep them in every single game this season. Their defense will not keep them in every single game this season that they're going to play. So I see the Chiefs finishing up again at 8-8 in the AFC West. The Oakland Raiders possibly bidding the Oakland Alameda Coliseum farewell before they take off for Las Vegas here in a couple years. See them finishing up at 7-9. John Gruden's first year back in coaching. You don't have Khalil Mack under contract, which we'll get to here in a second with Aaron Donald and his magnanimous deal that he signed earlier here today. Just don't see it from Oakland. I watched them in the preseason. They haven't really looked particularly good or exciting or anything that you would be like, yeah, those guys are going to be in contention. 7-9 for the Raiders this season, and the Denver Broncos bringing up the rear in the AFC West. Quarterback issues, offensive line issues, some rebuild in Denver this year. 5-11 for the Denver Broncos. Looking at the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars are my prediction, are expected to win the division this year with a record of 12-4, not close behind. In my opinion, today, the best young quarterback in the National Football League, in Deshaun Watson, and the Houston Texans will finish with a record of 11-5 and secure one of the AFC's wild card spots. The Tennessee Titans, a playoff team a year ago, looks like Marcus Mariota has regressed a little bit here this preseason. That's a little bit of a concern. So I have them slipping back to 7-9. And then the Indianapolis Colts, yes, they have Andrew Luck. That's a team that is going to need help really across the board. Offensive line, running game, outside of T.Y. Hilton, receivers. Their defense is kind of a mess. I'm wanting to say a put-together defense, but let's be honest, it's really kind of a mess at this point in time that they'll have to put back together there. In India, I see the Colts finishing up at 6-10 this upcoming season. The AFC North, Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and Killer Bees will finish up at 10-6, as will the Baltimore Ravens with an identical record of 10-6, also securing the second wild card seed in the AFC this season. The Cincinnati Bengals, 7-9 under Marvin Lewis. I've said this several times before. What does it take to get the sixth foul? Marvin Lewis continues to underachieve. Will continue to underachieve this season. And then the Cleveland Browns, 6-10 this season, coming off a season in which they went 0-16. After Baker Mayfield, have Tyrod Taylor, Jarvis Landry, very talented team this season. But again, you play in a division where again, you're going to have two playoff teams. Cincinnati is always going to be tough. It's going to be kind of an uphill battle for Cleveland this season. In seasons to come, not going to have that problem. As Cleveland Browns are on the way on the upswing finally. Except for this season, they'll finish out at 6-10. And that finishes out the AFC standings. Moving along to the National Football Conference of the NFC. Looking at the NFC East and the defending world champion, Philadelphia Eagles, who I predict will finish at 11-5. The New York Giants and Eli Manning, Pat Shurmur, 9-7 this season. Not a playoff team this season. They'll have a lot of ups and downs. Their defense is slowly progressing and coming together. That's why I'm giving them a winning record instead of flipping their record back around to 7-9. At the beginning of the preseason, their defense looked putrid, but they've made some changes, got some things together. Looks like they have a pretty good year there. In a big blue win with the Giants, finishing up at 9-7. The Dallas Cowboys, 8-8. Now, you guys used to hearing that record from Jason Garrett, Dak Prescott, the voice. 8-8 this year for the Dallas Cowboys. Still got to fix their defense. Offensively shouldn't be a problem as defense as in Kansas City. Rather, going to be the same kind of problem there in Dallas. 8-8 for the Dallas Cowboys. In the Washington franchise, 7-9 with Alex Smith and Gruden and the company there finishing up things. Just don't have the running game and really don't have the offensive personnel around them really to overcome any of the three teams in front of them or any other team in the NFC, at least for this season. So the Washington franchise will finish up at 7-9 here in 2018. Moving on to the NFC West and the Los Angeles Rams, best talented team in football, not only in the NFC, in the entire NFL. I predict them to finish up with a record of 13-3, and they will win the Western Division of the NFC this season. The San Francisco 49ers, second-year coach Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo get things together out there in the Bay Area. I see them finishing up with a record of 9-7 this season. The Seattle Seahawks, for the improvements they made on their offensive line, I still don't think that's enough. The Legion of Boom is gone. That means a rebuild defense. That means younger players. That means a lot of missed assignments. Also adds to a lot of losses. See them finishing it up at 8-8. And the Arizona Cardinals, again on the rebuild. First-year head coach out there. Possible rookie quarterback playing in Josh Rosen. I can see them finishing up this season out in the Valley of the Sun with a record of 6-10 for the Arizona Cardinals. Moving on to the NFC South. Have the New Orleans Saints winning that division with a record of 11-5. Drew Brees and Sean Payton going to give it one more championship run down there in New Orleans with Mark Ingram and Kamara and that defense down there on the Bayou. 11-5 for the Saints this season. See the Carolina Panthers finishing up with a record of 10-6 and also securing one of the wild card spots there in the NFC. I can also see the Atlanta Falcons finishing third in the division at 10-6. Do not see the playoffs for them this season. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I can very easily see them finishing up at 5-11. This is also a team I can see finishing 2-14 or 3-13. If you go back and watch some of their tape, their defense is not really that bad. Their offense, no Jameis for 3 games. They say there's no guarantee he gets a starting spot when he comes back. Dirk Cutter almost got fired last season. Now this happens. That's a mess of a team. They potentially could be worse than 5-11. But hey, we'll see what happens there. Moving on to the NFC North and the Green Bay Packers and their newly $180 million, $100 million guaranteed quarterback, Mr. Double Check Discount himself, Aaron Rodgers. See the Packers going 11-5 this season, up there with the Cheeseheads. The Minnesota Vikings also will go 11-5 and secure the second wild card spot there in the NFC. There under Mike Zimmer. The Detroit Lions 8-8 under a first-year head coach Matt Patricia. That's a team that they have a few parts on offense, a few parts on defense. I think they'll have a little bit of a tough time bringing it all together this season in order to make a playoff run. And the Chicago Bears under first-year head coach Matt Nagy, Mitchell Trubisky and the crew will finish up at 7-9. And again, that's another team to watch out for in the coming years here on the rise there in the Windy City. So that finishes up the regular season records. Moving on to Wild Card Weekend, who I think will play in the Wild Card Weekend this year in the NFL. I think we're going to see the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Houston Texans. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be at the Los Angeles Chargers in the AFC. In the NFC, Carolina and Minnesota, Green Bay at New Orleans. The divisional round of the playoffs, I can see the Houston Texans advancing, as well as the Los Angeles Chargers. Texans at Houston, which will be a rematch of the opening Sunday game that we'll see between these two teams, and the Chargers at Jacksonville, which should be a very entertaining game. I can see Green Bay coming out of a shootout in New Orleans on top to take on the Los Angeles Rams, and Minnesota and Philadelphia will meet in the divisional round this year in a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. Moving on to Championship Sunday, will be a rematch of a regular season game from last season and from this season. I see the Philadelphia Eagles flying out to Los Angeles to take on the Los Angeles Rams. And I see the Los Angeles Chargers making the AFC Championship game against the New England Patriots, which leads us to the Super Bowl for this season, with the Los Angeles Rams and New England Patriots meeting up. And I can see the Patriots winning the Super Bowl. Tom Brady with ring number 6, I believe. Ring number 6 there for Tom Brady this season, as they'll finish off the Rams in Super Bowl by, I believe, by a score of 38-33. Of somewhere in there, there will be about a 5-point game coming up here this season. Speaking of Aaron Donald, his long-awaited holdout ended earlier this morning, signing a 6-year, $135 million contract with the Los Angeles Rams, which includes $87 million guaranteed, making him the richest defensive player in National Football League history. He also gets $40 million as a signing bonus, just for putting his John Hancock there on the dotted line. Contract will average about $22 million a year. It's also going to raise his cap number this season from 6.8 to 8.8 per Adam Schefter of ESPN. So you also have to look at somebody like a Mack out there in Khalil Mack out there in Oakland, who's holding out right now for a contract. The Oakland Raiders already said they wouldn't have any money until after week 2 to pay him. I'm sorry, you guys gonna have to go get a loan or something, because Khalil Mack probably is seeing this and is like, wait a minute. So he got $40 million as a signing bonus. He got all that money, and you guys want to pay me, and you going to Vegas? Something's wrong here. And as Pro Football Talk put out there as well, don't be surprised if this precipitates a trade for Khalil Mack. There's been several rumors of him going to the Jets, to Chicago, to other teams that have been thrown out there as well. With the Jets acquiring a third-round pick from New Orleans, that gives them draft capital that they can trade back to Oakland in order to make a trade happen as well. They can give them a 1 and 2 3s. So far, rumor is Oakland is seeking 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack, as they want to make the trade for him. So Aaron Donald cashed in. I thought he would get 25 a year. He got 22. Hey, you can't carve spilled milk. You got $3 million less. But hey, you got $40 million signing bonus, 87 guaranteed, $22 million a year. You're the highest paid player. Apparently, Stan Kroenke sent his jet late this morning to Pittsburgh. Pick him up. Come on back out to L.A. Let's sign this deal. Let's celebrate. So Aaron Donald definitely get paid by the Los Angeles Rams, Khalil Mack.